Hey everyone, my guest today is Evan W. Turk, Esquire, founding attorney and shareholder at Turk Law Group, former attorney to President Donald Trump, and CEO of American Rights Alliance, funded by Don Trump Jr. Evan is a distinguished legal authority known for his proficiency in family law and wealth strategies, an accomplished author, entrepreneur, and founder of the American Rights Alliance. Evan's career started in Princeton in finance, and he was trained on Wall Street prior to entering law. He is licensed to practice law in Florida, New Jersey, and is duly admitted to practice in front of the United States Tax Court. Welcome back to the show, Evan. I want to thank you for coming back and being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm a repeat guest now.
Yes. So I have been going through my favorite guests from last year, and I've also been pointing out the things that I did wrong in previous interviews. So with you, I had my microphone upside down, and it didn't affect the audio quality at all. But anyone that knows about microphones knows that you don't position it that way. And it was just very obvious that it was not hooked up right. Someone else, I forgot to activate the camera, so it was audio only. And then another person, I was very, very sick during. I had a cold that progressively got worse in the middle of the conversation, and I started sweating, and it was gross. So yeah, just fun things. But I was wondering if you could tell the audience about yourself for those who might be new listeners, and kind of what you're working on right now.
Wonderful. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah.
To those who don't know me, which is probably everyone, my name is Evan Turk. I am an attorney, and I am the founder of the American Rights Alliance, which is a 501c3 organization, First Amendment, civil rights organization that is a charity that is working to make sure that the First Amendment stays the First Amendment, and we do not slowly go into a situation where we can never go back. First Amendment gives us the freedoms to do everything else, and it's the foundation of this country.
Yeah. So one of your clients was, or still is, Tina Peters, correct?
Yeah, so we worked with the attorneys that were representing Tina Peters and raising funds, raising awareness on this case. This is one of those cases that are very politically driven. So if you're on one side of the political aisle, you think that her punishment is extremely unjust. And if you're on the other side of the political aisle, you'll think that it was just. And, my job is really to teach the public and give them awareness as to why this is a civil rights violation case, and take away the politics behind it. Look at this as America and the freedom that we believe in. And so that was one of the cases. And recently, I'll take a step back for those who don't know the case. I'll explain it. She was part of the election staff in Colorado during the infamous 2020 election, where after the election, when President Trump was stating that this was a stolen election, she found certain irregularities and concerns that she had, one of which was she had to upload the data on the Dominion machines, which would have erased the data that can either prove innocence or guilt on voter fraud. And the fact that she was forced to do this raised some very important questions as to why are we going to get rid of this information that is so valuable and the federal law requires.
Mm-hmm.
And the way she took justice or took to justice was that she used a third party, um, call that individual a whistleblower to store that data um, against what she was you know required to do by the state of Colorado.
Okay.
And for that, they charged her. But what was unusual about it, it looked more like a political retribution case than um, if the facts were different, that it had no politics behind it. And here's a woman at the time, she was in her late 60s, that got an exorbitant punishment for 8 years. And
Yeah.
if you think about it, she didn't have any what's called mens rea, guilty intention. She didn't have a guilty thought that she was breaking a law. She thought she was actually doing what was necessary.
Right.
Maybe she was very politically uh, loud and proud of that, but that doesn't mean that she can't be. Under the First Amendment, she has the freedom to have her political opinion. But it seemed like they went excessive and they put her in a horrific situation. You would think for a sentence it wouldn't be nearly as long. And the live-in facility, she was in a storage closet with another roommate, where if one of her or the roommate had to stand up, the other one had to lay in the bed. I mean, these aren't living conditions. I mean, I just got a rescue dog, and I wouldn't put him in such a living condition, right? You put a
Right.
dog in a crate, you make sure that the crate has enough room for them to sit and stand. Yet you put somebody in a cell. Anyway, this is one of those cases that got to the president's desk, and through help of various ways, and our job was advocacy primarily, and raising funds for the legal defense.
Mhm.
The president pardoned her, which was great news. But the next challenge was, how do we take that federal pardon and turn it into a state pardon?
Right.
And through um, a lot of people's help, through awareness, um, a lot of advocacy, the Democrat governor of the state of Colorado realized that this was just too much of a punishment. So, politics aside, come Monday, I believe, which is June the 1st,
Yeah.
2026. We don't know when this is going to get aired. So, by the time it may get aired, she'll be out of jail. And
Yeah.
now you have half the people thinking of this case as a political one and saying justice was served, finally she's out, or this is a miscarriage of justice and she deserved to be there and rot in this hell. But if you break that down and look at it from just a civil rights issue,
Mhm.
just ask yourself if the roles were switched. Or take out the political angle and just make this a story that has nothing to do with an election, but with the same fact pattern. Ask yourself, would this woman have such a severe penalty? Would she have been punished at all? Or was there political undertones that really wanted to punish not even her, but make a statement out to the world that if you
Yeah.
challenge this election, then look what will happen to you? And quite honestly, I hear people all the time saying things when it comes to politics that I agree with so and so's politics, but I don't have enough moxie to state that publicly because I'm scared of the ramifications that will have. And that's really what the American Rights Alliance is about, is freedom of speech. And people are
Yeah.
no longer, you know, since social media and since this political world that has transpired ever since Trump was in office the first term, um, people don't realize, you know, their freedom of speech has been greatly limited by their fear that if they say something one way or another, there are going to be an unintended consequence, and all of a sudden, their ability to speak freely in a free country, has been taken away.
Right. So I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. The what she did wrong that they found a crime was the information was uploaded by a third party instead of directly to Dominion. Is that
No, no, she wasn't. She was supposed to. Um, she was not supposed to give the data to a third party, and by doing that, that was the crime.
okay?
Which,
Gotcha.
you know, she was feeling like, this is a whistleblower. Like, this is a great travesty of justice. How do we protect this information? Because the world needs to know this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, the best example is, if you have somebody that you see that's having a heart attack and is in your car, and the law says you can't break the speed limit, which is 55, and you go 75 and you get pulled over. Um, is it the right thing to let the person die and have the cops
Right.
sit down and give you a traffic ticket? Or do you help the emergency and deal with the violation at a later time? And that's one position. And the other position is, you must follow the law at all times. And
Yeah. Now,
so
did she even know she was breaking the law when she did that? Or
uh,
did she just think she was doing the right thing?
I would say with utmost certainty that she didn't do this thinking she would ever go to jail or was violating the law. I
Right.
think she was thinking she was upholding the law and, protecting the data so that, um, justice can be served. And if there is voter fraud, which it seems that there maybe just by circumstance alone, it could be preserved. But if she was wrong, it could prove that there was no voter irregularity. Why would you want to do that? But that wasn't,
Right.
you know, that's what the issue was. But the law was like, well, she gave this to a third party.
Yeah.
She didn't have the legal right to do that.
Yeah, I just I'm trying to think of something similar. Like for my job, we report data to the DNR, but like I imagine we'd have to hand it over to the EPA if the EPA asked, or maybe someone water quality is a huge issue in Iowa, so maybe there might be some other organization or entity that would want that information. And if there's water quality problems and I have data, wouldn't you want to give them that data? Say, hey, if you think there's problems, here's our data. Find the water quality issue in the data. To me, that you're just trying to help,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably some political undertones because she thought that there was injustice. So she may have been a zealot advocate in, you know, protecting what she thought there was a wrong. Uh,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, she wasn't thinking she was doing anything but, doing the right thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, put yourself in that position and you see something that, contradicts what you would think is right. Um, do you sit back or do you do something, for the better good of society and for this country,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what I think she did. Like, I don't think she was like trying to make a name for herself or try to use this to raise some platform she was standing by. I've
Right.
seen those things come across our desk from time to time. And, you know, just because they fit a political narrative doesn't make it that the crime itself was politically motivated. But
Right.
other times it seems like it has, it is. And it was in this case. I
Yeah.
mean, 8 years. I mean, just to give you a comparison, the guy who tried to assassinate Justice Kavanaugh by even entering his house got less time.
Right.
I mean, it's just, you look at these cases where people, commit vehicular manslaughter or, other people who, you know, continually get in and out of the justice system 20, 30 times and
Mhm.
aggregate it together, they don't get 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the people that you really need to, you know, make sure that, they know they're committing a crime and
Yeah.
they're going to do it again unless the punishment serves. So you have to ask yourself, why is the punishment so severe? Is it to punish the crime or is it to make a political statement? And here it seemed like it was clearly a political statement.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. The way that situation was treated altogether was very interesting. Like people wouldn't even be able to talk about the 2020 election without their videos getting pulled down on YouTube or whatever. It was just a very, very rough time. And I know that we still have those problems today.
Right. And then they're only going to escalate because depending on who's in office, whether it's, we're in a situation right now where everything is Trump-ish, Trump's doing that. Where in the prior administration, we don't even know who was doing what, but we
I
know
know.
what was happening. So,
Hmm.
it's clearly problematic if we don't fix the situation, meaning it doesn't matter your political side, it matters, you know, civil rights. And,
Yeah.
one of the things that is big in the news today is this fund set aside from President Trump, $1.776 billion.
Hmm.
And you watch the media explain it. Nobody really understands what it was for, but they use straw man tactics to articulate a narrative that if you hear on one side of the political aisle or on the other, you're not going to have a neutral position. You're going to have a strong position, one way or the other.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, and what the mainstream media is stating nowadays is I keep saying this, the straw man analysis. What I mean by that is, given an example of one person in this situation that may or may not even fit the character, the qualification of what they're trying to pursue, but using that as the storyline, as
Hmm.
you know, this person who, all the people must be that were committed crimes. And first of all, let's take a step back. That this is only January 6th crimes. It's not. It's
Right.
it's corruption that happened. It's civil rights violations that happened that were politically motivated under the Biden administration. Okay, so people don't are unaware of that. They think this is a January 6th fund, and we're
Hmm.
rewarding people who committed crimes. Well, let's just look at that person who existed during January 6th. Two different people. There's one person that took chairs and busted open windows, crawled in. They
Yeah.
deserve they deserve some form of punishment. There are other people that arrived later that saw the doors open and saw police escorting them in. You see these
Yeah.
videos of them talking to police, and basically they're getting a tour of the White House. It was like a silent protest.
Yeah.
But yet, because of the politics of it, they used a word that changed the definition of that word because it was not an insurrection, but they call it one.
Right.
So now what you're doing is you're playing with words to make a political narrative that either you agree with or you disagree with. So now all the people that walked in there that weren't insurrectionists, they weren't trying to overthrow the government. They were there thinking that they were in a peaceful protest.
Yeah.
Some people weren't even in the Capitol building. We represent someone in the past that was just covering it and
Yeah.
stating it, but he was outside the Capitol building. They caught him for trespassing because apparently this invisible line he was unaware of and he crossed over that boundary.
Yeah.
He got 17 days solitary confinement, 17 days in a cell in darkness, not knowing if it's morning, afternoon, or night.
Yeah.
That's not how we punish our citizens. That's not America. We don't treat terrorists that right way. They have civil rights, apparently. But Americans that were not even in the Capitol building. So, because this fund exists, does this person who had hell for 17 days, that was treated as a political prisoner in this country because of a political opinion, because he was known to be a Republican and he was held office under the title as a Republican? And does this justify him being treated differently than somebody else? I mean, he was alongside another reporter. They didn't do anything to him because he
That
represented
yeah.
a different publication, and that was a left-leaning publication. That's a
Yeah.
perfect example of why this fund exists. Or the people who would have went to that could have been charged for a misdemeanor because they may have had some sort of involvement. Maybe they were in there being loud and they weren't, they were potentially being disorderly. Okay. But rather than getting charged with the crime and self-reporting, I mean, I've known plenty of people that they were in compliance and speaking. They already had an attorney. They would have self-reported.
Yeah.
Is it the justice to have 20 federal agents with machine guns coming into your house in the middle of the day, pointed at not only the person who did this act, but the entire family? That is political injustice. That's the infraction of civil liberties. When the FBI clearly says, we do not want these people to self-report, we want to make an example of them. People need to be accountable. Again, I'm not rewarding criminal activity, but just because there were involvement of criminal activity, there were also people not involved, and their civil liberties were taken from them.
Right.
And their story is never shared. You have someone like Enrique Tarrio, who was the charge of the Proud Boys, whether you agreed with him or you didn't. He wasn't there during January 6th. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
He wasn't a part of an organized crew that was planning any of this. He got 22 years of jail time. 22 years. This is the stuff that you take away the politics, because just remember this, if the next administration sees there's some travesty and it's not the Proud Boys, it's Antifa or whatever it is, but they do the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Should they be treated that way? And the answer would be, everybody would say, well, not everybody, but those who are on the political aisle say they would never do that. Well, I can show you crimes that they've gotten away with because of the politics. They decide not to charge.
Yeah.
When they say crimes down or this type of crimes down, it doesn't mean that this type of crimes down. It means that they're stopped prosecuting those types of crimes and criminal
Right.
activity. You have to ask yourself why. And why are they focused on these people, and they're labeling them domestic terrorists now? I mean, there are people that said if you're part of MAGA, you're a domestic terrorist. This is civil liberties that are taken away, and it does not mean that this is all coming from one political aisle. This is a focus, and what we should really focus on is justice and civil liberties and the future of our country. That your alignment with one political belief or the next should not matter. But in 2026, it does, and you're treated completely different.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking about the Don Lemon thing in the church in Minnesota, and how they actually entered there, scared the crap out of families, including children, got in their faces, and interrupted their worship. And yes, some people were arrested and questioned, but what happened with them is nothing compared to what happened to people that were just near the Capitol on January 6th, the way that they hunted those people down.
Yeah.
It's not comparable.
No, not at all. And it's just that's a great example. And people should be in this country have the freedom to protest, but
Mhm.
also that doesn't mean your freedom outweighs someone's freedom of religion and to pray, especially with your family. I mean,
Yeah.
what was Don Lemon thinking? I just think that from what I believe, and I have reasonable belief, I just think that he's just looking for attention. I don't
Yeah.
even think he believes in anything. I just think he's disgruntled because he lost his amazing job at CNN,
Mhm.
and he's trying to find a purpose and an audience, but not the cause doesn't matter. It's the audience, it's the
Yeah.
relevance, and a lot of these people you see that are on CNN and any of these networks. Just Don Lemon was on CNN. That
Mhm.
met them individually, and I know people are friends with some of these people, and they say, not how can you be friends with them, but like, I know you, and you're friends with this person, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they're just doing this because that's how they collect their paycheck. That's how they collect their status. They don't believe in anything they're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
it's they're just casts of characters selling a story or a narrative.
Yeah. That's funny that, that you mentioned that because there's a man on our local news station that, works not far from me, and I'm always like, "Man, if I ever run into him, I'm gonna ask him how he lives with himself," and and I'm sure he's so sweet in person. I don't know him, but, I kinda it just makes me think he's right over there, and I wanna know if he actually has any self-respect. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors real quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high protein snacks for on the go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. I was just reading, Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla. Did you ever watch The Man Show?
I mean, I remember while the Man Show happened, I remember Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel, and there's
They're
interactions.
fu
It wasn't, yeah, and it's funny how completely different they are nowadays, right?
Yes. So, I did watch The Man Show for whatever reason. But, I remember they were such good friends, and they're still friends, and they won't talk crap about each other. And again, I'm like, how does Adam Carolla stay friends with Jimmy Kimmel? But I'm gonna guess he just doesn't watch him on TV. They maybe don't watch each other, but
I just think Jimmy Kimmel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Jimmy Kimmel believes what he's saying. I think he just, I mean, some of it. I mean, I don't really watch Jimmy Kimmel, but I can't believe that he's really. I think that he found that if he talks about Trump every single episode, um, he's doing something to keep his job or to
Mhm.
get him relevant. And it's the paycheck. And I don't think, I think he probably believes in half of what he says, but because he understands that he has to do this, he doubles down on it. It's
Yeah,
interesting because as an attorney, sometimes you're representing a client, and you realize that you're so for that one side, and you almost get blinded by it because you're representing the best interest of that client. And
yeah,
then the case is over, some time passes, and you think about it and you realize, could I have represented the other side with that much passion? And sometimes the answer is yes. You just get caught
right.
in it. And so then you get blinded by whatever your belief is at that moment.
Mhm.
You're going to find things to support it. You're
Yeah.
going to have that opinion bias. Like it's kind of like looking at yellow cars, right? Or you get a brand new uh, down here. The perfect example are those cyber trucks,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden you can't stop seeing cyber trucks because they're so unusual. There's not many on
Yeah,
the road, but they're so unusual that you see them all the time.
yeah,
And so you have your opinion bias that there are so many cyber trucks, and then you look at the sales, and Tesla's really hurting on the sale of
right.
cyber trucks. You're like, huh, it's opinion bias. So I
Yeah.
think Jimmy Kimmel is kind of like that. Like he started it, but it became his brand. It's become his thing.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the same thing with Colbert. And, I think Jon Stewart is a little bit less like that.
Right.
But the one that
Right.
I like on TV now is Bill Maher, because I feel like not only is he quite intelligent with his viewpoints, but you could almost agree with him even if you're not on the same political aisle.
Right. You know, and he has been speaking up against certain things, like, "Hey, I'm on the left, but this is ridiculous." Like, you can respect someone who's honest about how they feel, even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah, like perfect example with someone like Bill Maher.
Mhm.
The or Iran war. I keep saying Iran, but it's technically Iran. So
I know.
the Iran war. Um, the whole left position that it's an unjust war. Bill Maher puts a different perspective on it, right? He goes and visits the president, and he bashes the president later, but in a way where he's stating what he's seeing and what he thinks, not in
Mhm.
a way that's just lowbrow. Like just, I
Right.
mean, maybe he said it, but I haven't heard it. You take that position versus a Jimmy Kimmel that the president was shot at, and then 2 days later he's mocking the president's wife, our first lady, and saying that you know that it would have been a
Yeah.
good thing if she was a widow. I mean, I may be misquoting that, but the essence is there. And
Right.
it's you don't understand the other side because it's so opinionated, and it's so all in. Like if there's 300 things that the left and 300 things that the right have, and no matter what it is, as long as it's an opinion on the left, you're going to be 100% involved in that, and you kind of lose credibility. I mean, you have to feel like you can't agree to every single position on one political party. In
Right.
fact, it'd be better if we had no parties. We just had, individuals, right? Could you imagine? Congress would get things done.
I think about that all the time that it if it's the right thing, everyone should be voting for it, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta keep that divide between the 2
Yeah,
parties, so
but it's also the political world that we live in. It's like
mhm,
you don't agree with something, but you need a favor for something else that you really believe in. So you look the other way on this one because you say, you know what, I don't agree with this. However, I'll
mhm,
agree because I need your vote on this. And now you're
right.
selling yourself short. And yeah, and this is what the problems with coalitions and all these other things in DC. And who loses? Not the politician. The politician comes
Right.
into Congress with no money and they leave with $25 million plus. They get to inside trade. I wish that there was a candidate that said, I'm going to run for office so that I can become an inside trader.
So, yeah, the I know they've been trying to get rid of insider trading, and Ana Paulina Luna's great. I wish we had more of her because she
Yeah.
seems to really be going after, uh, what people are caring about, but it's hard for her to get enough support.
No, and it's rational thinking. It's just that people forget the rational thinking because they are always doing something for what they think is a compromise their integrity for a better good. Like, I want this one position. This is the thing I came into Congress for, whatever that position is. And in order for me to get there, I have to do all these other things. And I'm not proud of myself for doing all those things, but I could look back and say I got the one thing I came into Congress for. I mean, as an
Yeah.
example. And it's just, you know, that's what the American Rights Alliance is really about. It's about not those people in Congress, but who's being affected, everyday people,
Mhm.
from these decisions and how our civil liberties are being removed. Like a light in a room that's slowly darkening, and all of a sudden you're in a pitch dark room, right? And you don't know how you got there, but you're there
Yeah.
because, for many reasons, but you're there because your rights were taken away very slowly. And the January 6th created a precedent.
Mhm.
Now we can, as a country, say, how do we move on this? You can't take it as an aggregate together. There were people that deserved to go to jail, and there were other people that deserved to have their freedom and their side understood.
Yeah.
And they were treated as if they were mass murderers. Meanwhile, you have that guy who assassinated the
Oh, the
CEO
healthcare?
of,
Mhm.
yeah, of not Humana, of UnitedHealthcare.
Mhm.
And because he was an attractive young man, and the other person was politically part of the problem because he was a billionaire, and they were making a lot of money from
Yeah.
denying cases. Mangione, that's his name.
Yeah.
He's coming across as a hero, but if he was not a young, attractive male, again, this is the word on the street. I
Right.
don't
Right.
you know particularly agree or disagree with that
You don't
stand.
think he's cute?
Um,
I'm messing with you.
and I don't know. My girlfriend, I don't think she ever talked about him as a cute guy, but maybe he is. But at the same time, if he didn't look like that, the whole narrative would have been different. But there
Yeah.
are people supporting the murder of a innocent person,
Yeah.
broad daylight, going to some sort of convention.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is how we have evolved from a society because we're so politically driven, and it's okay because he represents, you know, greed and this and that. So all of a sudden, murder
Yeah.
is on the table.
I haven't shared this with the audience, uh, but before, so this will be a new little fun tidbit. But my sister went to high school with, is it Brian Thompson that was murdered? The
Which
healthcare CEO.
Oh, is that his
He,
name? Yeah, see,
yeah, I
I
think
didn't.
so. Yeah, see, and so everyone's talking about Luigi Mangione, but no one talks about Brian
Mhm,
Thompson. And I think he was like a senior when my sister was a freshman.
mhm.
She didn't know him very well, but we came from a very small town, Iowa area. So there were 6 different towns combined into the high school. And so that's where you could maybe not hang out with somebody or be neighbors with them, but still be in school. But just so everyone knows, he and his entire family, from everything I've heard from people who knew him personally, were very, very kind people. And maybe he got into a situation where he had to make decisions that people didn't like, but I want that to be known that, like, no one's really ever said anything bad about this man, but because he works for, he's in the position, making decisions, supposedly ruining people's lives, and some guy that some people find hot killed him, suddenly it's fine. He's a demon, you can kill him.
Yeah.
It it just
It
bothers
just
me.
Yeah, same thing with Charlie Kirk. Something I'll reveal. I mean, I've revealed this before. I was on the advisory council for Turning Point USA, with Charlie Kirk's organization.
Mhm.
But before everyone knew who Charlie Kirk was, when he was up and coming, I just happened to be invited as a guest to a friend's house. He happened to be there. We happened to grab dinner. Um, and I was, I'm an attorney. I deal with a lot of uh, charitable and tax strategies. And I was sitting down. Everyone was over at the other side of the table because there was this all pro NFL player that we knew that was on the other side. So nobody was bothering um, Charlie at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I explained to him what we do and these strategies. And they're so complicated sometimes a lot of attorneys don't understand it. And for him to be someone in high school educated, not even college, to understand it, I thought he was just placating me until he repeated it. And I was like, wow, this guy knows it. And over the course of years, from time to time, he would call me up, ask me for advice, and I would laugh. It's like, this guy's asking me for advice. He knows a lot more than I do. He was incredibly intelligent, quick, retained everything. And I still to this day don't understand, why anyone could say the guy didn't have 1% of him evil. He's
Right.
an evangelical Christian that believed in his faith, which is an American fundamental right to have that freedom. That's why people come here. It's a melting pot.
Yeah.
And he lived his life as to what it said according to his faith. And what does he get as a consequence? Assassinated. The most horrific thing that I can't believe I watched the video once. I can't get it out of my mind, never will.
Oh, I know.
But to
I
hear
know.
people justify the behavior or to devalue his memory by saying anything to the effect, however, or but, no,
Mhm.
no, shame on you.
Right.
Absolute shame on you. He didn't preach hatred. He wasn't anti this, anti that. I mean, they said, like some people said, he was anti-trans. Well, is it okay for trans people to be anti-religion? Is that two wrongs make a right? Because he was just
Right.
following his faith and stating that. Isn't he entitled to that? Um,
Yeah.
I still don't understand why they assassinated him. I mean, the joke was, but it wasn't a joke. It was like we really believed it. It was like, and he was like 26 at the time. That
Yeah.
give him 9 more years, he'll be the president. He was on that path.
Yeah.
I met JD Vance. I didn't even know he was even politically driven when he was at a book signing, and they were like saying that he's going to be the next president. I'm like, ha ha ha! Everyone's going to be the next president, and look where he is, he's
Right.
vice president. Um,
Yeah.
but there was not a bad thing I could say about that. About him, not one thing. And he was someone who you say once He was someone, I will do it. And the next day it was done.
Yeah.
He had the most incredible memory and the biggest heart. I was going through something, and I didn't even know he was aware of it. And I
Uh-huh.
just kept it to myself, and it was something I had to deal with. And I happened to be in a room with him at an event, and he sees me across the room. He walks across the way, shakes my hand, and says, "We got this." Like, that's how intelligent. I mean, and
Yeah.
why is he even polarizing? I mean, as a free society, we should appreciate those that may, you could be agnostic or atheist. It doesn't matter. I heard him on Bill Maher, and I had a lot more respect for Bill Maher because of his atheist viewpoint. I didn't realize that it wasn't based on, I think religion is, you're ignorant for being religious. I just believe this because all these fundamental beliefs, and this is where I think the fallacy in religion is. But he
Mhm.
knew it. And I'm like, that's where this country needs to be. Difference of
Yeah.
opinions, but still being civil, finding a middle ground. But
Yeah.
yet we're not there. We're not even close. And that's really what we're about at the American Rights Alliance is civil discourse is one thing, but when we get resort to violence or um, unfairness, government overreach, uh,
Mhm.
going to jail, not only for a short period of time. We have clients that we're helping that are there for a long time. I have someone who is got an extra year to a 10-year sentence, and I don't even understand the crime because there was none.
Huh.
And in this involvement, and just because he made money, I think it's an affront to capitalism.
Okay.
But the judge said that I'm giving you an extra year, one extra year of jail time because you show no remorse. Well, he didn't think that he did any crime. I don't see the crime. He went to the public and brought this up and said that this was politically driven. This was that. And the
Yeah.
guy got 12 months of jail just for stating his First Amendment fundamental rights. And the judge was able to get out of that by saying remorse. The other person that did the same exact activity, I don't want to call it crime because I don't know what the crime is. I still know. He was his business partner, got 1 year less.
Really?
I mean, 10 years, what's an extra year? But if you take away the 10 years and I said to you, you're going to be in jail for a year, I mean, I don't know if you can last a day. Now you add an
Right.
extra year on top of that.
Right. Yeah. It's like torture.
Yeah.
Um, what so one thing that we had talked about a little bit before, and I'm assuming this also is for the anti-weaponization fund, that it's not just for conservatives. It's for
Correct.
anyone. Just like American Rights Alliance, you represent anyone whose free speech has been violated, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I just really want to make sure that that's clear. It's not we're not trying to be a political motivated organization, um, but the timing of everything and the violation of civil liberties seems, right now heavily driven on one side of the political aisle, at least the things that are coming to our table. And, we're more than happy and, looking for things that are happening on the other side too.
Mhm.
Um, this is not, we don't want this to be a civil war where one side prevails only because the other side, has to be destroyed. Um,
Right.
what I want is somebody, it's funny because I had someone who's dear to me that I did some legal work for, and she's completely on the other side of the political aisle, and she just sent me this book today. It's called "Liar's Kingdom: How to Stop Trump's Deceit and Save America." Okay, so rather than getting frustrated about this book, I'm going to read this book, and then I'm going
Yeah.
to identify the fallacies in this book and come across by looking at what the other side of the aisle sees that I'm not aware of because I haven't allowed myself. I'm not looking forward to reading this book, by the way. I'm really not. But looking forward to saying I read the book and
Yeah.
that this is my opinion of the book and this is why they overstated this or understated that. This is this or this is that. And I have a great friend. He's a brilliant mind, a physicist. He's so smart, yet sometimes does the most asinine things because his intelligence gets away with common sense. But
Mhm.
years ago I went to his house and he had all these books. I'm like, really? Like, how can you read this? He goes, I don't understand any of it. But how will I ever understand it unless I understand the fallacy in their thinking? And maybe
Yeah.
I'll read this and completely disagree with everything that I know, doubt it, but I'm going to come across objectively. And the one great thing I keep telling everybody to do this: AI is here no matter what. You
Mhm.
can't say, oh, like my father years ago, he would never accept a text. This is when you had to go A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yes. Yeah.
And he said, if you want to reach me, pick up the darn phone and call me.
Yeah.
And now my father texts me more than anyone, right?
That's
He never
funny.
picks up the phone. He just texts me. And that's like AI. Those who are fighting it are inevitably going to fail. And then they're going to say, well, wow, if I don't use AI, you know.
Yeah.
With that
Yeah.
said, I take all the political opinions that I have and I try to understand the other side.
Mhm.
And I say to AI, this is what I believe on this position. Convince me why I'm wrong. Tell me the fallacy in my thinking and give
Okay.
me the other side. So now at least I understand the other side, and maybe a fundamental disbelief on how life works. And I think that's a lot of like the difference between um, these socialist Democrats or democratic socialists and
Mhm.
other people in America. And I think they believe that if everyone's given the same opportunity to succeed, they will all put in the same effort and get to the same level. Whereas I think that a lot of people um, are inherently lazy, and a lot of people um, are going to make life choices that contradicts their own best interest. And you could find somebody that made millions and lost it, and more likely than not, I would invest in him than the other person who's never made $1 million, right?
Right.
And it's just all about mentality, willingness, and opportunity. And opportunity is important here because without the opportunity, you'll never succeed, right? So, from one position is we all can agree as everyone should have opportunity to succeed in this country. The
Mhm.
difference is what's causing that opportunity to not be equal. And people on one aisle look at it differently than the other. So by using AI and understanding the other side, what I've been able to find is it's not good people or bad people. It's more about that one thing. How do we get equal opportunity? Because you give men and women the same opportunity to do certain things. Most men will gravitate to certain professions where most women will gravitate to others. So it doesn't mean that 50% of the professions should be men and 50% should be women. It's just the opportunities. And there are certain
Yeah.
things that opportunities um, are never going to be equal just because of the nature of the makeup of people, right? So if you're born 4'11", the opportunity to be in the NBA is zero. Okay,
Right.
but we
Right.
shouldn't say this 4'11" person should be given the opportunity to play in the NBA because no matter what, inevitably it's going to happen is the level of play in the NBA is going to go down.
Right.
And, and there is always an exception to that rule, but there is nobody, to my belief, that there was in the NBA that was 4'11". And little
Yeah.
known fact, there was one woman in the NBA. I think it was in the 50s or 60s. So there was a female in the NBA. I don't think she ever played a game, but she got drafted. Because at
Wow.
that time it was more about shooting, not about
Yeah.
height and strength. And But if we could figure out opportunity, then I think we could all agree on things. I think that's where the difference is, opportunity.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, this position is dominated by white men doesn't mean that it's driven on racism or social bias or this or that. We have to realize the opportunity
Mhm.
and what's preventing other people from doing that. I think if we could have an honest conversation about that, I think we can have, you know, a better country that we all are united in, rather than separating each other by race, religion, height, color of their eyes, color of their hair. Um, we should be more homogenous as a country as a whole, and
Yeah.
realize that, you know, if we can give each other the same opportunity, and sometimes you just, it's an impossibility, just like the 4'11" NBA star. It's just not going to.
Right. Right. Yeah, that doesn't mean there's not something else out there for that
Yeah,
person. So,
absolutely. I mean, that's
yeah.
why you don't see 7'7" jockeys, right? You see 4 foot
Right.
11, and there's a
Right.
job for them too. So
Yes.
do we take 7'7" guys that are destined for the NBA and say, you know what, we need you in as a jockey? I mean, kind of
Right.
fun to watch a 7'7" person riding a horse with their feet touching the ground, but
Yeah.
it's, you understand the point. And
Yeah.
as an organization, what we're really trying to do is capture what makes America great, and understanding the other side of the argument.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a perfect point to wrap things up on. Where can everybody find you?
Well, find me on the American Rights Alliance. Our website is americanrightsalliance.org. And on your favorite social media handle, it's Donate ARA. And if you can't find us on Donate ARA, just flip it, and we're ARA Donate. So apparently some
Perfect.
some organizations beat us to it, but ARA for American Rights Alliance, and Donate to remind everybody that the way we could all um, get those opportunities is through generous contributions, and it's a 501c3 organization, which means that your money can be written off on your tax return.
Nice. Perfect.
Make us your favorite charity, and
Yeah.
help us out,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we will work for everyone.
Sounds good. All right. I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Much
Yep.
appreciated.